So when we last spoke, I asked you what I now know to be a extremely cliche and very old lady question,
Mhm.
which is where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like,
Mhm.
well, even saying it right now, I've learned since no matter, it doesn't matter how old anyone is, that's just a
Mhm.
really bad question to ask.
Well, that's a good one to me.
Well, your answer was great.
Hmm.
Your answer was great. And it was so great that I would like to recreate the moment
Okay.
because what you said afterwards was extremely profound. And I've told multiple people since, and everyone is like, whoa. So, Lacenia, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I see myself living happily ever after. Since I'm gonna be married in this year, so I just see myself in a happy place, loving life, um, at a higher position at my job, just living successfully, hopefully being an investor and just making a way for my family. I'll have kids in 5 years, actually. So I'll be a mom. I'll be just in a different mindset, actually. So I'm actually excited to see that. And that's where I'll be in 5 years. I might be in my container home, like I mentioned to you,
Mm-hmm.
and just living life still at Averett, working in transportation.
And that is what was so unique about your answer, was every single one of those things you just said was rooted in joy.
Hmm.
And you actually you said those words before I did, which was I rewatched it and you said something along the lines of I don't think of like my goals for the next 5 years aren't so much career and title and job as they are joy based.
This is my spiritual background, is just to live joyously and keep a positive energy and think on things positive and just stay optimistic. I'm pretty probably one of the most optimistic people at Averett, in my friend circles and things like that. Because I'm hardly ever mad, and things like that. I don't take things too personal, but myself. So just staying happy is the key, and staying happy internally is the key as well.
So your current joy based goals, we've still got the container home. That seems to be one. Have you taken
That
that trip? You said something about an international or trip with either your mother or your grandmother.
my grandma, she still hasn't gotten on a plane yet. We're working on that.
We're working on
I
that.
want to say me and my mom, since we last talked, we've been to Cabo and we had a great time in Cabo. I want to say that was a couple years ago, for her retirement. We celebrated, and I feel like I've been somewhere else since then. Might have been Costa Rica, and where else? That's all I can think of right now. Costa Rica, I think.
Of all of
I
the
know.
things that you said that you want to do and you see yourself doing in 5 years, only one of the things that you mentioned was work related,
Yeah. I
which
mean,
is, but I don't want to leave that yet because even I'm guilty of this when I think of the things that I want to accomplish in 5 years. First of all, I get really overwhelmed thinking about the length of time.
yeah.
And most of the things, and maybe it's a season of life I'm in because I am married and I have a son, but
Mhm.
I think anybody naturally is inclined to answer that question with accomplishments
Yeah. Yeah.
or work milestones, but one only one of those for you happens to be that.
Work. Yeah, I like to keep a good work life balance. What my work milestones, it's kind of been shifting. I still want to be a director, service center director, and manage people eventually, because I'm a people person. I walk the dog and say hey to all my drivers daily and things like that. So I do see myself moving up into a more people role and being a people warrior, as your company was.
Look at that. Fantastic. Fantastic plug right there. Yeah, do you think one, in terms of spiritual health, mental health, personal well-being,
Mhm.
one is more important to have than the other?
I say definitely the spiritual health is what's got kept me in the mindset that's been the greatest. Um, and knowing God is just a personal advantage of mine. But mental health is also is very key as well. So having a good balance of both spiritual and mental health is good. Sometimes one outweighs the other, but they eventually are neck and neck when adapting to this world and the things that are happening in this world. You got to keep a good good balance of the two.
Yeah.
I
Which
say.
one do you think outweighs the other more often?
I'd say spiritual for me outweighs the mental because if I'm spiritually sound, that means I'm mentally sound as well. Because the spiritual part will take care of the mental part, and I walk this world with no worries.
So, do you have as clear of a list as you did a year and a half ago of those joy based
Yeah.
goals for you?
I do actually right here in my phone. I over this made me pull up my notes of my 5 year plan and things that I want to accomplish within 5 years. Yep.
And what is that? What's on the phone?
Let me see.
I'm,
Me and my partner, my fiance, we went and did them together so I can see his and mine's. But yeah, there this year as a 30-year-old, I want to continue to maintain a healthy diet. I still want to travel abroad with my mom. I'm not sure if we'll accomplish that yet since I have some other things in the works. Um, and finding the land for my container home. I might have to push that to next year since I have so much on my list of to dos for this year. Next year, buying a house is a goal of mine. Also, maintaining a healthy diet still and exercising more. Um, Venturing into a new role at my job is a goal of mine. And then we transform to year 32, getting another car. I should pay off my car this year, actually. That'll be my first paid off car. So buying another car, upgrading is a goal of mine.
did you say transfer to 32? As in, like, you have goals for 2032?
To year
Or when you're 32
2027.
years old?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have goals for 7 years from
2032.
now.
They might be similar to the ones I have for the 5 years. I don't know. And then year 2028, I plan on starting a family that year. So the goals get a little bit slimmer that year. Um, Oh, I have this year having a wedding in Dallas, but I'm having a wedding this year. So some things have actually changed.
You're achieving a
And
goal before the anticipated goal.
mhm, yeah, that's crazy. And then year 2029, 5 years from now, I plan on moving to another state.
Goodness. Does
Hmm.
your fiance know that?
He does.
Is he good with that, or is he
He
a
doesn't know. We might
Houston?
have to keep that one on the hush.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Might be
Hmm.
something you want to discuss.
Uh, Maybe that meant moving back home in 5 years.
Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
that would make sense. That would make
Yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
Coach me, if you will, on how I could create joy-based goals.
Joy-based goals. It's just a matter of sitting down and saying, "Hey, where would I like to see Heather at in 5 years? Will I be happy each year? How can I achieve that happiness and joy throughout these years? Do I need to put more focus into my spiritual health, and that'll get me there? Will that catapult me there? Do I need to focus on self care each year and make more personalized goals like eating right, exercising, putting more energy back into you those years? And just sitting down and figuring out, hey, can I do this? And do I truly want to do this? And will it be achieved? And
Mm,
if so, I think joy will be neck and neck right there, each goal.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
like the idea of maybe I need to do this activity of creating, personal growth plan almost in maybe three categories of
Mhm.
what would, you mentioned happiness. Like, what does happiness look like?
Yeah.
Spirituality, like, what does that look like? But then also have work-based goals, because that is a huge part of my
Mhm.
personal, like the impact and what drives me. But there has to be a balance with the others.
Yeah.
Because if I
Yeah.
only had
Mhm.
career or work-based goals, which now I'm like processing this right now, because if you were to ask me, like, not 5 years, but where do you, like, what things do you want to accomplish when you look at your life? It really is some pretty clear workplace milestones, but going through
Mhm.
an activity of going through each of those and saying, what would it look like to achieve that, not at the expense of happiness and spirituality?
Yeah. I typically review my goals every quarter as a starter, but most people review their goals at the end of the year, beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I sit down and say, hey, what goals do I want to accomplish in the next 3 to 4 months to get put micro goals in place?
What what is the earliest memory you have of creating a goal like this, of being so goal driven?
The earliest memory, I'd have to say maybe my last year in college, my senior year in college.
And what started it?
Just where I wanted to be in life and realizing I'm no longer a college student. I'm about to be a grown adult in this big world we live in and saying, hey, well, I'm leaving this place. Where do I want to be? I have to set a realistic goal on where I want to go and do next.
And were those goals originally work related? I'm curious if it started out as work goals and somewhere along the way you learned the value of, what, maybe it's not all about that. Let's add in some of these other things that are more joy based, spiritual based, happiness based.
I think it was all work related
Yeah.
because the seriousness of, hey, now you got to go work
Mm-hmm.
is a big deal. So you don't worry about your happiness. Well, I kind of did, but a lot of people don't worry about themselves. Like, how am I gonna do some self care stuff while trying to find a job? And it was just tunnel vision finding a job right out of college. So I don't think a lot of people focus on the spiritual and
Mm-mm.
physical wellness part of that leaving
Yeah.
college.
I certainly didn't.
Mhm.
Did you ever not achieve one of those early work goals?
Early work goes, yeah, of course. It was many failures that I came across, like looking for internships and jobs and things like that, because I ultimately thought I was going to be working for another carrier, JB Hunt, and I had applied and thought I was in the door because I knew somebody. That opportunity fell through. I also thought I was going to be moving to Omaha, Nebraska, and working for another trucking company. Then I was so close, but then boom, they hit me with, we're going to proceed with somebody else." So it there was a few times I fell on my face in regards to this career, but it all came back um, full circle.
What did you learn from those?
I learned that. Um, Everything is doesn't have your name on it, or every opportunity you think you might have, it might not be the best opportunity for you at the time, even though you think so. And it's okay to not achieve something because that just means there's something better out there for you. So
Mm,
accept that failure, move on. Something better is on the way, and that opportunity wasn't the best for you, so that's why it didn't happen.
yeah. Wouldn't it have been a gift though for you and I, back when we were leaving, graduating college, which happened in different decades, let's be honest. But even people leaving college now are experiencing the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
What a gift would it have been to have somebody like your mentor, your mother, your coach you at such a young age to, yes, it's important to have a work goal. That's really important. But what's your happiness and your spiritual and your joy goal?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
certainly experienced not job rejection, like my job's like right out of college. That job lined up for me. It was a non-paid internship. It was
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. I non-paid for a year, but I experienced other forms of rejection and failure in that job. And what a gift it would have been to have those other goals at the forefront of my mind as a
Mm-hmm.
reminder when you do face those early, those first rounds of failure and rejection earlier in your career, that, okay, I might have be experiencing this, but cross reference it to the spiritual goal and your happiness goal. Because if you're making progress in those areas, that failure doesn't hurt nearly as bad.
It sure does. It
Right.
fall on a pillow.
You fall on a pillow.
Mm-hmm.
I
And you
love
get back
that.
up. Mm-hmm. You
Where
don't
did
get
you
scratches.
where'd you hear that? What is that? Tell me more
I
about
just
that.
made that up. Mm-hmm.
Right now?
Right now. Mm-hmm.
Get out of here.
Yep. I just thought you don't fall on a hard surface on your face like most people say. You fall on a pillow instead.
You fall on a pillow. That's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And don't we all just expect the world and others to be our pillow? I really love
Mm-hmm.
this. Let's like
Yeah.
stay in this
Uh-huh.
fun brain space, right?
Yeah.
Especially early in your career. Because
Mm-hmm.
your 20s, you're cutting your teeth in just about every hard aspect of life, from your rejection and failures and breakups and cross country pivots, and sometimes physical limitations that you develop, and your dreams shift, or your first house, like you experience all of
So.
it
Mm-hmm.
for the first time. And when you're experiencing that for the first time, you feel like you're the first one ever to experience, like the weight of those first failures and hard times, that they're so
Emotional.
heavy, and you feel like you're the
Mm-hmm.
first one to go through that. And if you were to have a spiritual foundation, like, with goals comes very practical and practical things that you do to lead up to that goal. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have routine and discipline around what your spiritual health looks like, or your happiness, in the midst of all those, you can immediately shift to those things to stay grounded,
Yep.
to
Mm-hmm.
fall on a pillow. I
Yep.
love that. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shifting gears a little bit, but really not very much. I spoke to a young man. He's in our family, and and he's fresh out of college. He's within his first year out of school and in his first job ever. And I texted him just to check in on him, and I asked him how things were going. And he said, "Oh, great, they're going good." He liked his job, he liked the people that he worked with, but he said he missed, the bulk of his message was he misses having time with his friends, and some days it's hard to get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, that's not an age thing. Every single human being has days where it's hard to get out of bed. I do.
Yeah.
But I do think that a ton of new professionals struggle with that shift that happens when you transition out of college, from college or part-time work into full-time work. That shift being from your social and recreational life being the primary source of your joy and purpose, to
Mm-hmm.
now work taking up most of your time, and you have very little time for those things that are the sole source of your satisfaction and fulfillment in life. So my question to you then is, what might you say to that young man, or a room full of college grads who are getting ready to make that shift from
Mm-hmm.
finding all of their joy and purpose and meaning socially and recreationally, to finding that at work?
Fun at work. I'd say find a good place to work. That's the start. Research the companies that you're applying to or want to work for, and see if they have a good rep. for places that are the top 500 places to work at. Like I want to say Avery, it's one of the top places for women to work at. A lot of people don't know that they win awards for that. So definitely ask your future employer, what's the work culture like? That was always the question I asked in interviews when they said, do you have a question for us? Yeah, what is your work culture like? Because I don't want to be just pinned down in a cubicle all day. Do people get along here? Do we have barbecues and company events here? Because I want to work somewhere where I'm not dreadful coming into work. I want to work in an environment that's culturally fit for everyone. Everyone supports everyone, helpful, and things like that. Like, is this a happy workplace?
Mm.
And that's what I would ask and share with them to say, hey, find a place that's not gonna have you bottled down and you have to meet deadlines and things like that because you ultimately get stressed out and overworked at places like that.
What about a leader? Like, where does that come into place? Do you find just a good place to work at, or are you also, should they seek out good leadership? And what does that even look like? How does a young, college grad even know what to look for in the interview process that would be a good sign that they're going to be under good leadership?
Yeah, I guess if they get to meet the leader during the interview where somebody says, "Oh, Billy Bob is in the office today. We'd like you to meet him or say hey to him," um, and just them the willingness for a leader to be met or the leader to meet them, I say, um, and just the person that interviews them. Do they have a kind, friendly, joyous spirit? Did you feel welcome during the interview? And that's a
Mm,
simple yes or no. If it was cut and dry, they may need you to be cut and dry at
mm,
the job. So just kind of have to
yeah.
gauge the personality of the interview
Mm.
interviewer and things like that, and go with your instinct.
I think this is really wise, and but I want to for anybody who's listening. I think this message is significantly more powerful or important to hear for younger professionals, only because I believe the older you get, the more resume experience you have, and also that your network grows. So the chances of you knowing someone in the interview process is greater. The energy and contribution you get, I believe, from an interviewer is more gracious and friendly as you go up in your career.
Mhm.
Meaning, when you are fresh starting out, first of all, you're probably interviewing for an entry level position, which are great and very noble. But oftentimes, hiring managers, I don't know if you've ever gotten this sense. I certainly did when I was interviewing. You almost feel like, am I like, do they really want to be here? I feel like I'm taking time out of their day. So
Mhm.
young professionals might actually be in a position to observe red flags a little bit more than others. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I think or there's a huge stigma right now, and I disagree with it, about a lot of middle level managers or first level managers, millennials, Gen X's are intentionally not taking interviews with young professionals because they've had so many bad
Mm.
experiences with them. And I can't imagine that somebody who is like, oh, I don't want to interview young professionals because they're not going to show up for it. If they are going into that conversation with that mindset and they do take that interview, that's not going to be an incredibly gracious or friendly, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I
you
think
really do
that's
have to, use your intuition a little bit. And the things like, if you're a young professional and you go into an interview and you get even the remotest, that's not a word. You get even the slightest whiff of fakeness or waste of your time, or not someone who's not genuine. It
yeah.
might be easy as someone who's new to the interviewing process to dismiss that or overlook that internal red flag that's going off, but it's a very
Mhm.
important one to listen to.
Yeah, most definitely. Because I've heard about interviews just from people I know. They say, oh, the interviewer sent me the link to or something last minute. Oh, these people didn't get back to me. I don't know what time our interview is. We agreed on this time, but I haven't even received a follow up email. Things like that are definitely red flags, and you want somebody who's taking the time out of their day to get with you and put you on their schedule, just as like you did, Heather. You worked with me for this podcast, and we rescheduled a couple times, but we both had that drive and that initiative to say, "Hey, I need to get with Heather. Hey, I need to get with Lacenia because we want to do this." Both
Mm-hmm.
parties have to want to do this.
All right. So find a good place, like make sure it's a good place to work. Going
Hmm.
back to the question, like what advice you would have to college grads who are getting ready to make the shift from finding all of their joy socially and recreationally to finding it at work. First advice is find a good place to work. What
Yeah,
else? What else?
that's easier said than done. I say no. Do your research
Mm-hmm.
about the job, about the employer, future employer, if that's where you ultimately want to work. Um, I'd also say ask how well about the ethics of the company, same as like the cultural
Mm-hmm.
um and intuitiveness or inclusiveness, I mean, of the company is. And what else would I tell a room full of college grads? I say ask about the vacation time, but that's
Sure.
coming from a millennial. Um, I that was important to me is the vacation time because with that you will know if you can have a good work life balance,
Mm.
which is key. That's what I tell everybody. Make sure you have a good work life balance. I think I told
Yeah.
a lady today, you make sure you put yourself first and have a good work life balance because the work will be there. Your mental
Mm.
state, your social state, your joyous state will not if you let the job overpower all of that.
Mm.
So keeping that in the forefront.
Yeah. Okay, I'm curious. And you already said you were 30. So I was going to say a lady never asks someone, tells her age, but what?
Mhm.
So if you're 30, were you born in 95?
94.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So technically, according to some charts, you would be the youngest of all of the millennials. You're right on the cusp. Some people call
Mhm.
you a cusper. Have you heard that phrase before?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So people who are like on the verge of one generation and another, they're cuspers, and it's interesting is that they have attributes from both.
Hmm.
I might argue that your value of that and your instinct to share that in advice might make you a little bit more Gen Z than a
Gen
millennial.
Z.
And
Yeah.
that's totally fine because the man, you want to talk about advocates for work-life balance.
Hmm.
I recently heard somebody call it work-life harmony.
Oh.
Like balance isn't a state that's achievable in life,
Wow.
but
Yeah, I haven't heard
harmony.
that.
Yes.
Work life harmony.
Yeah, I'd like put out on the internet, I think in a LinkedIn post, like, let's stop calling it work life balance. Can we call it one life balance?
Mm.
Because you have one life, you're one
Yeah.
person, you're one life. And somebody
Yeah.
made a comment about work life harmony. So I can't decide which one.
Yeah.
What do you like? Do you like work life balance, work life harmony, or one life balance? Which one resonates with you more?
I think I like the work life harmony because you have to be harmonious in both of them,
Mm-hmm.
and they both have to agree in harmony.
All right.
Mhm.
So a couple years back, this actually wasn't the first time you and I met, but last time when I had the chance to chat with you through Zoom, we were doing so because a senior leader in your organization raised their hand um, after I had put out some communication about I was seeking executives and senior leaders at organizations to participate in kind of a total impromptu research project
Mhm.
about I wanted to I wanted to collect stories from executives of young people in their organizations who were standing out and who they would clone and who they would, be soul crushed if they turned in their letter of resignation, and really who were seemingly the exception to many other people in their generation. And one of the wonderful senior leaders in your organization nominated you. And you know all this because this, we talked about this before, but allow me to just recap. During that initial conversation with him, he described you as a problem solver, extreme enthusiasm, which a year and a half later hasn't changed, a breath of fresh air, which you certainly are, raises your hands, ask questions no matter what it is, you look people in the eye, you've got positive attitude, charisma, and a courage to communicate.
Yeah.
I'm curious. What was your experience or perception of adult work at a young age?
At a young age.
I feel like I should let you answer before I put the idea in your head. So let's see if I'm onto something.
I want to say back then, as a young child, I always thought that people worked hard and were always at work. So work was a serious thing to me back then. I wanted to be grown before I was grown, but the idea of work was at the back of my mind, and staying at a place for this long and for this amount of years didn't phase me. And I just thought jobs and having adult work was serious, and that you had to do it to be able to provide for your family. And that's what my mom would always say, hey, I'm working this job so we can have this and put food on the table and things like that. So I thought a job was a very serious thing that I would have to know for sure what I wanted to do, to be an adult and to be set in that way. But now, I mean, I love working, but that's not the case for everybody. So adult work and a job is something very seriously to this day and from back then to me. So I think a job is definitely an essential thing, and that one should look at it as just a way of life, pretty much.
It's a part of your life. It's not something that you have to begrudgingly do to
Hmm.
live.
Yeah, yeah,
I love that your mom kind of instilled the ethic in you that, like, hey, we have these things because we work hard.
yeah.
And it almost sounds like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it almost sounds like she did that in a posture of seriousness and gratitude versus like bitterness.
Definitely
I,
true.
and this wasn't, and I'm assuming this certainly wasn't my childhood, but I do think that if you are raised in an environment where work is something you hate and you have to do it and you resent it and it never provides enough, right? We can't have these things because I don't make enough. That to me instills a different work ethic
Yeah.
than the one you learned, that you take
Definitely.
work seriously and it's something that provides the things that you need to live
Hmm. The things that I need and want.
and want.
You have to say, hey, I'm working because I want to be able to get this and I want this. We'll find a way to get our necessities, but you have to work to get the extra things that you want, the luxury of
Mm.
living, because
Mm-hmm.
the things we want and need are necessities. We work to get those, but the extra stuff that you want in the future, the nail habitat, getting your nails done, and the going out to eat, those things consist of you working to get them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And some people get really hung up on this. Might be actually a really fun segue into the next kind of section. Some people get so hung up on, I don't like the lack of purpose in work. Meaning,
Mhm.
like, if you're not in a job where the purpose and meaning isn't obvious, like healthcare, education, if we're just in, I hate to say accounting as an example because there's some wonderful accountants out there and they get so much purpose, but you know what I mean. If you're
Mhm.
in a job that seems like menial and tedious
Fast
and
food.
taskmasters, we forget. A lot of people forget about the nobility in providing for yourself.
Mhm.
Like, there is dignity and purpose in the fact that you are making your own money to
Mhm.
buy things for yourself, groceries, rent, like
Clothes, everything.
clothes. Somewhere along the line, we lose that posture of gratitude.
Mhm.
You think?
Yeah, I see it all the time with like fast food workers
Mm.
and them their attitudes. But I'm all about customer service, so I can tell if a person doesn't like their job based on the customer service these days.
You are absolutely right. You can tell how much personal fulfillment and joy someone gets out of their job based
Mhm.
on how they serve customers.
Mhm.
And it's not hard to tell.
Yeah.
Since we're on the subject of passion and joy at work, one of the things that struck me about our past conversation was you have genuine joy. You find genuine joy in your industry, which is
Mhm.
transportation and logistics, which
Yeah.
not knocking the transportation logistics industry at all, but it's not one that you're like, I hate to use the word sexy, but like, oh, you know what I mean? That it's my mom has worked in transportation logistics for 30 years. And I love you, mom. I still can't really articulate what she does. It's very complicated to me, but you love it. Like, you went to school for it. You haven't pivoted out of it. What is the earliest memory you have of loving and getting excited about the transportation and logistics industry?
I want to say it dates back to about 2015 when I took an intro to logistics class and just figured out, like, oh, this truck part originates and is manufactured in China, but we have to bring it all the way to the US to AutoZone for us to buy it. What's the process between China all the way to here? And just learning that process was opened a can of worms in my heart. And ever since then, I've just been passionate about it. And then I used to go through the grocery store and look at the back of seasonings and cereals and say, where was this made at? And then think, wow, all the stuff I learned about getting stuff from different origins and getting it all the way to the consumer's door was just my curiosity, and it just kept blooming.
What is it safe to say that you currently, and certainly then when you started out, you found a lot of immediate meaning in knowing or recognizing that you are a part of that process? Like, if
Hmm.
I work in this, I'm in the chain of that getting from China to this counter that I'm at the grocery store.
Yeah, it's safe to say that I am a adamant, exciting part of everyone's supply chain. And if there was nobody working in logistics and transportation, we would all be walking around here in our birthday suits because we would not be able to get clothes and glasses and earrings from anywhere. The
I,
world would be stuck.
I love that. I love
Mhm.
that. And because
Mhm.
you found one, you found that industry cool. Like, early on when you first heard about, oh, this is cool. That's probably one of the first thoughts you had. And in a somewhat, I hate to say, logistical process, like, logistical process, you thought, oh, I'm here in that process and I make a difference. That's what you figured out. You figured out if I can do this in here, I'm making a difference. You sure? Oh, you sure have. I'm telling you, I'm calling it right now. You will be like C-suite female executives, like female CEO of logistics 2037. Like, you know what I mean? But it's because early on you found that connection yourself. I think that's really important. And what struck me from the conversation is there's a lot of, and you know, I myself and many other facilitators and consultants and articles and thought leaders, one of the ways that we coach leaders into helping promote engagement in their employees is helping them find their purpose, which is so obvious, but very few leaders are actually sitting down and having the conversation of, do you see where you're making it? Like, that just doesn't happen. They know they know that everybody should feel connected to the job they're doing. Everybody knows that at this point, but very few people are actually having the conversations. But I think it's very important to acknowledge the impact of finding that for yourself, for looking at whatever job you do, whether you're helping get something from China to Kroger, or you are frying French fries, you're scanning boarding passes at the TSA line, that you find the difference you're making. I think if you don't have clarity for that yourself, it's got to be pretty impossible to find joy at work.
I think I want to ask that to our drivers at our next meeting. Hey, how do you think you make a difference? And what do you think your impact is?
Yes.
And see what they say.
Yes. And you know, oh man, that'd be a fun conversation, because every person, even if they're in the same job,
Mhm.
they might recognize the difference they're making in different ways. So I'll
Yeah.
give you an example. I took a picture. I don't have it. I'd have to really find it. But several years ago, I was driving down the road with my son, who was probably like 2 at the time. And I was stopped at a red light, and next to me was a garbage truck.
Mm.
But attached to the garbage truck's ladder was probably a 3.5, 4 foot tall stuffed animal of Mickey Mouse.
Oh.
And I took a picture because I thought one day I'm going to talk about this. And now I do. That truck driver recognized, he didn't see the difference he was making in the world as picking up trash, keeping our city clean, you know, the typical things that a trash driver might think, like, that's the difference I make. I keep my city clean.
Mhm.
This person clearly knows he makes a difference because he brings smiles to children.
Yeah.
Like my son, when he was 2, he every single Tuesday, it was a whole thing at 3 o'clock. No matter where we were in the house, like where our house is, you can hear the trucks coming down the road. And we would sometimes just sit in the driveway and they would honk. And the honk is what makes the difference.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I think of the driver, your truck driver situation is, you know, what does every kid do on a road trip when they pass an 18-wheeler?
Honk, honk, honk.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
And like, to me, if you're a truck driver and you recognize that and you see it, even if you once, I'd actually be curious how if this is still a thing. You have to ask your drivers, like, does anybody still ask you to honk? You
I
know,
sure
to
will.
me, that's a difference. Like, count, like, how many times are people asking me to honk, and do I do it? How many times am I seeing someone smile? The difference they could make, I'm pretty sure they talk to each other all the time on the radios. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, are they coaching someone through a tough time? Do they love to make people laugh, and are they telling people jokes? Like that, it could be any number of things. It could be the value of transporting. Like, I know I'm carrying a television, let's just say, and this television could be the thing the television that Billy Bob, since you used that name earlier, that Billy Bob has been saving up for. Like, this television could be the first television at someone's first house outside of their parents, and they're going to have so much pride to that's the kind of awareness that we have to create in our own minds. And sometimes it's the story of it
Mm-hmm.
that helps us enter into the enter into our jobs, our customer service in a completely different way. Okay, I got a couple quicker questions for you. What is a trend in the workplace that excites you?
Growth. Our team growing compared to other teams, bringing on new drivers and meeting people is a great trend that I love to see at my place of employment.
What is a trend in the workplace that worries you?
Um, when things are slow, because it's literally a roller coaster. We get a lot of freight and we get some quieter days, and just freight levels and the uncertainty of customers not wanting to move things because of just the uncertainty of the economy. That's just a little worried trend, but we ride the wave.
Are you at the bottom of the coaster right now or at the top of the coaster right now?
I said we're at the top of the coast right now,
Awesome.
where we may be approaching the small dip, but we might be on the up and up as we're approaching the end of the month. So we like to see a good spike of movement towards the end and the beginning of the month.
What is a lesson you learned the hard way?
Ooh, lesson I learned the hard way at work. To ask questions and not assume. Maybe if I'm unsure, ask a leader of mine before I reply and say, "Oh, yeah, we can do this." And when in reality, we might not be
Mm,
able to.
mm.
Over promising.
What is a fear or insecurity you experienced early in your career that you had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
That fear was talking on the phone. Believe it or
Oh.
not, I don't like talking on the phone. I don't like holding the phone and walking around with it on my ear and things like that. Uh, thank God for AirPods though. But I don't like calling people on the phone. I don't like delivering bad news.
Hmm.
I don't like turning people away. So that was something that was insecurity of mine that I had that kind of coincided with rejection.
Mm.
I feared rejection. So I never thought I'd be a salesperson ever because back then I had a fear of rejection and I didn't uh, adapt to rejection well.
Mm.
But when I took on my career, I said, "Hey, I'm going to have to face this, and that's going to be a challenge that I'll now have to overcome." Is dealing with rejection, pivoting from rejection, calling people when I don't have the best news for them. I took it as a learning curve. I took it as growing pains. Hey, I do have to call this customer and let them know that their freight might be damaged or we didn't deliver that freight on time. So calling people saying, "Hey, we can't get it for this price," and things like that was something I was hesitant to do. I would have to call my boss, "Hey, could you call them and let them know the bad news?"
Mm.
I'd rather send an email instead, But I learned to finally take that leap of faith and say, "Hey, just let me call them so they can hear my voice because I have a friendly voice.
Yeah.
Nobody can be mad at me with my friendly voice." I say, "Hey, this is Lacenia from Avery. How are you doing today?" So I start every conversation off good. How could I be scared or fearful of anybody over the phone? So that was something I've overcame and didn't like. And I was like, sales is about calling people every day, calling on people face to face and calling them over the phone. So I've overcame that fear and insecurity 3 years later.
I'm curious about your thoughts, and it's totally fair to say I didn't know there was a shift,
Mhm.
but we're kind of on the precipice of a societal shift from shifting the focus away from mental health to spiritual health. Like mental health, we've been talking about it. We're still struggling with it. We're not really making progress in that area. Now it's like, okay, it's spiritual health. What's your
Yeah.
reaction to that?
I like that change. I'm 100% for that change. I hadn't noticed it yet, but that's a great change because mental health, I'm sure we all have gotten tired of mental health. We made a month for mental health, but I think that'll be a good pivot and rebranding of mental health to call it spiritual health, quite honestly.
Yes. Yes. I
Hmm.
love
So the
this.
spirit is from within. People just think the mental is just in your mind, but the spiritual is the whole body. So I like that pivot and that change.
You work with people because I've met many of the people at Averitt. You work with all of the generations.
Hmm.
Are we really all that different?
No, we're not all that different. We're all the same. We're all the same. Uh, Helping by way of helping others. Because at my place of employment, we're a team. So
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of like minded. We all spit out the same identical ideas. We just may have different capabilities, but we all are the same.
Mm. I love that. And maybe the better
Mhm.
question is do you think we're more alike than different or more different than alike? But it sounds like yeah, which of those
We're more
two?
alike. We're more
More
alike.
alike. I think so too. I was going through a
Mhm.
list of, and I won't go through all of these just for time, but I was going through a list of, I've been saving in preparation for our podcast today, a series of any like Gen Z related, Gen Z in the workplace related headlines. And I don't
Mhm.
know if it's my Google algorithm or what, but it seems like most of the things coming in are so negative. And so, like, in the trends that are coming up in these surveys and statistics, it's like just because it's none of this is new. That's the big thing that I keep thinking. It's this, like, just one I read was about task masking. Have you heard about this? It was like Gen Z
Mhm.
are task masking, which is basically intentionally trying to look busy so people don't give you more work.
Oh, okay. I'm a victim of. I'm guilty of that.
I'm guilty. That's
I
what I'm
do
saying.
that.
I'm like, no, no, no. Human beings have been looking and taking the easier route since the creation of human beings. Like when I was in college, I did musical theater. And at the end of a run of a show, after the last performance, this is standard in any show you do, there's something called a strike, where after the last show, everybody, including the crew and the actors, everybody stays afterwards, and sometimes you're there until midnight or later, and you're striking the set. So no one leaves the theater until there is nothing on the stage except for a light. So you have hammers, you're ripping stuff apart. And we used to walk around. Me and my friends created something we called the strike walk. And we figured out that if we held a tool like a hammer or a screwdriver and we just walked fast with like a stern look on our face, that no one would ask us to do anything. So
Mhm.
that was one. I was like, that's not new. So here's my message to the world. If you read an article about task masking, it's not new. Uh, they're hesitant to speak out at work. Not new. Every new professional in the history of all professions is hesitant. They talk too much about their personal lives. I don't know.
Mhm.
That might be it. What do you think about that one?
I'm guilty of that but it's because I love my life. A lot of
Yeah.
people are a bit more secretive. I've actually been told to kind of be more secretive and dismissive of some things, but yeah, I think more people are kind of
Yeah.
closed minded or just closed off initially, but once you get to know them, they're an open book.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody who I come across, I'm gonna make you an open book
Oh
and
yeah,
ask about your
for sure.
family.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up with just some quick, fun, lightning round human questions for you. So quick answers, quick questions, quick answers.
Mhm.
What's a local small business or person in your community who inspires you?
Local small business. I'd say this food truck down the road. They were once small and at a another location, but then they moved into a prime location at a prime intersection, and now there's two trucks. They got a taco truck, and now they brought their cousin or somebody with a churro truck, and I hit them both at the same time, and I'm inspired by them because they started small and kind of grew, and I'm sure they're making a lot of money, and I've seen the changes that they've done for their work. So they made like an outdoor seating and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy for their growth.
And a snack you used to eat after school?
Lunchables.
Nice. The pizza ones or like turkey and ham?
The pizza ones
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, like the ham and cheese ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If okay, what is I'm trying to think about the best way to say this. Planes, trains, trucks, or something else. What is your transportation spirit animal and why?
Definitely a plane. I have a plane on my wrist here.
Oh,
I just get fascinated with planes and being at the airport and all things related to planes. I love flying. I love catching flights far, near and far. If you could drop me off at the airport and I'll be fine.
what's the weirdest or most unexpected thing you've ever had to coordinate or deliver?
Coordinate or deliver? The weirdest. Someone asked me today to ship some radioactive material to Mexico, and it was
Whoa.
about 20 feet long, and we had to tell them, no, we don't do that, and we can't help you with that. So that was pretty weird and strange.
Do you guys have a system or a protocol for when things like that and you're like, nah, somebody like, do you report anything weird?
No, we didn't report it weird. It's just a long category and different classes of dangerous goods that we
Radioactive.
can ship. But then when I saw it said radioactive, I said, I'll have to double check if we can send radioactive stuff. So luckily my team double checked it as well and came back and told them, no, this this certain category of radioactive we cannot ship.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I have a question. What's the most Houston thing about you? But you're not from Houston.
You can consider me a
Okay.
Houstonian. I've been here
What's
about
the
12 years now.
what's the most Houston thing about you?
The most Houston thing about me, maybe the way I drive.
What does that mean? Are Houston drivers good or bad?
Houston drivers are a little bit speedy. Sometimes we tend to get over without using our signals, uh, and kind of just some things like that. Um, I wasn't used to left hand exits on the freeway until I came to Houston. I say the way I drive, and um, yeah, I say the way I drive.
Okay. Something you want to accomplish before the end of the year.
Before the end of the year, big wedding.
I knew you were going to say that. All right, final question. If you could give one piece of advice to a leader who is struggling to understand or lead younger people on their team, what would it be?
It would be to let them have a voice, let them be innovative because you might agree with their innovativeness. And whatever they want to do, it will be beneficial and help your company grow.
I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful for your time. This was so fun. So
Ooh,
fun to reconnect with you.
I know, finally.
Congratulations on the engagement
Thank you. Thank you.
and
Thank you.
enjoy the wedding. I'll part with you if you want to you take it or leave it, but here's a great piece of advice that was given to my husband and I before our wedding. He was
Mm,
much better about this than I
mhm.
was to take a moment at some point in the reception to stand near like the back of the room and just
Mhm.
have a few, like 2 minutes together to just recognize the beauty of all of these people coming together under one roof for
Yeah.
you all. Because they said really the only other time that these things happens is a funeral, which is really sad. But
Right.
it's so fast paced and time flies and you don't even stop to just be present in a moment.
Mhm.
And don't eat too much. Your dress might get too tight, like mine did, and you might might have to have vomit bags in your getaway car.